fear of the unknown and leave the planet you call home. Leave all the thoughts you think you know. It's time to let them go. Let it go. Extend your hands towards the stars and dip your toes in the valley of Mars. Celestial storm in my backyard and the universe explodes. Let's see how fast our hearts can go. 'Cause you and I could be that comet in the sky if we hold our breath, take a leap and close our eyes. We could fly, I believe if we try. We could fly like the heroes in the sky. We could fly.
Hi, you guys. This is Richard Sachs. I'm your host on Lost Arts Radio. It's nice to be back with you again. We have a fun show tonight, and what it's connected to is that the whole idea of law, especially in America, but there's certainly counterparts in other countries. And we've talked to a lot of people about aspects of the law that they've said they discovered, deeper meanings and things like that, talking about admiralty law and commercial law and UCC law and things like that. And many of them have been able to apparently prove that they were technically correct, and then they end up in jail or not getting things to go exactly like they wanted. And that was a main drawback that I saw of trying to do anything with the law, whether it was taxes or things that were going on in your life other than that. And that was a question that few of them could really answer at all. And I had been watching the activities of a school for several years called Freedom Law School. It sounded really interesting to me, and recently I got reminded of it by an interview that Jeff Berwick did with the founder of Freedom Law School, which is Peymon Mottahedeh, if I pronounced that correctly. I hope I did. Mm-hmm. And so I asked Peymon if he would please come on and talk to us about that, because it sounded really exciting, maybe be able to put together these two often separate aspects of being technically correct and having it actually work, which are kind of important to do both at the same time. Mm-hmm. So we're going to find out some interesting things today that are practical. Mm-hmm. And welcome, Peymon. I really appreciate your time. And what I was thinking is that I'd like to go, I like to include everybody on these calls for understanding, not just the people who are already really involved in it, anybody. So if it's okay with you, let's go back to before you were involved in this stuff and what led you to where you are now, and then we'll talk about what can be done with it.
Well, it goes really back to my childhood, because I have always been a live and let live kind of a person. I believed in being truthful, good, loving, and that, hey, if I try to be a good, loving, honest person, be a good example, if we all did the same thing, the world would be a wonderful, happy, peaceful heaven. Yeah. We should all get along nicely, So I've always been that way, Richard. And my father, when he would go to places, visit people, or people visit us, and often I was sitting next to him just as a little 6-year-old, 7-year-old child, 10-year-old, going with your father, he's talking to his friends, I'm just there with him, and they're talking. They didn't talk about sports or cars, right, or music and movie shows. They talked about politics. Maybe some health, but mainly politics of the West versus the Soviet Union, the East, Arab-Israeli politics, Iranian politics, because I was born in a Jewish family, raised in Iran. So at a very young age, I took a real intense interest in politics, and I started understanding what's going on at a very young age, how governments are corrupt. The Shah of Iran, the king of Iran, was corrupt and tortured people, executed people, no trials or summary trials, things like that. And then when also I did not have any neighbors to play with from 2nd to 8th grade in Iran where I lived.
Okay.
So I was forced to play with my brother, who was 5.5 years older than me, chess a lot to keep entertained. And we didn't get along personality-wise, but chess or maybe some cards was, we did sometimes. It taught me to think and plan a lot more in advance playing chess. I became my middle school chess champion, I remember, when I was there. And so I got good at it. In fact, my father and my brother never beat me over time because I started at such a young age. I got good at it.
Right.
And because I had no friends, I was forced to read my dad's newspaper. When we moved to our new house, and I was just bored. So, okay, here's a newspaper. I know how to read. I went to 1st grade. I was just in 2nd grade. I started reading. So I became a voracious reader. Read, whatever I could find, books, scientific magazine. There was one we had. So being reading-oriented, seeking knowledge, liking it, enjoying it, freedom in politics. So I was just ready-made to get into all this stuff as a freedom lover when I came to America. Believed in freedom in a very strong way, freedom and responsibility. I came to America at age 14 in 1977. And then in university, I took an economics class, and my economics teacher had us read the book Free to Choose by economist Milton Friedman about free markets and freedom. Okay. And I learned that people like me, they call them libertarians. Fine. Labels don't matter. Sounds good to me. I believe in liberty and freedom. So that's why I identified as a libertarian. And then in 1989, when I became an American citizen, one of the first things I did is I registered to vote as a Libertarian Party member, sought the local Libertarian Party in Orange County, California, became a member, went to the meetings, and I wanted to do my part of returning America to freedom. Not this Democratic Republican system where they war party Republicans and the, big government Socialist Party Democrats. I believe in liberty, individual rights.
Right.
So after doing that, then in 1992, I heard that there's no law requiring the average American to file and pay income tax on a talk radio show in LA.
Okay.
I found that quite amazing. I didn't believe it at first. But I went to a meeting that this lady was talking about on talk radio, and I was quite amazed, shocked, and excited that what she was saying was backed up with law. Not just philosophy like mine was based, but actually American constitutional and laws of tax law. It's written, that this thing is a scam, it's a fraud.
Was that Sherry or was it somebody else?
A lady named Tina Ripley was her name.
Okay.
Tina Terry was the real name, I think, and Tina Ripley, she went by that back in 1992. I mean, that was 28 years ago when I was only 29.
Right.
So that's how the underpinnings of my growth in initial stages came to be. And then as I got to that movement and I bought this group's $1,500 untaxing package to untax myself, so I thought, and cancel the adhesion contracts by having a bank signature card, I was told. That's tied me to the system. And then paid another $1,500 to sell their package to get a commission for that.
Okay.
They introduced me to other patriotic Americans into freedom. And I found out, whoa, look at this. Mm. Here's the freest country in the world, supposedly a free country, and there's a freedom movement in America.
Yeah.
Except it's not underground, illegal like it is in Iran. Here, it's you can talk about it, but they ignore you. The establishment, the powers to be controlled. I learned about the Federal Reserve that control the money system. With that money, they buy the media and they buy the politicians.
Yeah.
Just like Shah of Iran controlled all three, had the money, politics, military, and the media all controlled. So there we knew we were not free in Iran. Here you think you're free in America, but you're not.
Right.
So that was a quite an interesting, revelation for me. And later on, of course, I came across my old friend Irwin Schiff, one of the big guys in the whole tax honesty movement, explaining how the income tax is a ripoff and a lie. And I love his term where he says, America was a land of the free, home of the brave, and now it's become the land of the meek and the home of the indentured. Wow. That just really resonated with me as to what's going on in America. And we're no longer free. We think we are, but we're not. We believe in this so-called democracy, which we're not. We're a republic. Right. And people think that, we read, apple pie and the flag and all this kind of, people are so brainwashed to believe in the matrix of lies we've been, put into. And so, me at a young age, at age 29, really going a serious way into all this, I realized that I have a distinct advantage. And my distinct advantage was I was getting into the freedom movement at a very young age. The vast majority of people who are into this freedom movement and realize what's going on are in their 50s or 60s until they realize how corrupt the system is. I had the realization at a much younger age because of my background with my father, as I explained earlier. Mm-hmm. And I realized because I'm young and single, I had many years I could learn so much more in all these upcoming years, so that down the road I can really know what I'm talking about. And in the last 28 years, it's been a really a wonderful journey for me, because in all these years I've seen other people succeed but mostly fail, and I know why they failed. I was there when they failed. I was there when they made the mistakes, and I could see their mistakes was going to doom them, so I would not make their mistakes. I was very fortunate because I took a very humble attitude about learning, in that I knew I was a foreigner, not an American, and I knew I had to find the very best people out there to teach me.
Right.
So I kept looking at every group, legal theory of movement out there. All arguments about Uniform Commercial Code, UCC 1-207, UCC 1-305, common law versus Admiralty and yellow fringe flag, maritime jurisdiction arguments. I looked at state versus U.S. citizenship, sovereignty, national citizenship, strawman, redemption, expatriation, repatriation, the Buck Act, not using zip code on your mail, your name being in all capital letters, strawman. I mean, you name it. Everything out there that was out there, I checked out. Because back before internet, in the mid-1990s, you had to attend live seminars of people that came to your area.
Right.
Or buy the audio tapes of the seminars or books and material, and I did all of that. I spent thousands of dollars and my time to check out anything, everybody. And as a result, I found out the very best people that existed at the time in the mid-1990s. My teachers were Sean O'Connor, Dave Wellington, Vern Holland, and some of the other guys that were good. Also, Bill Conklin was good. Former judge Bill Drexler, and even Irwin Schiff. I learned things from him also. You know, he has a lot of stuff right, even though he made some mistakes.
Yeah.
So I was able to absorb and filter out the good and the bad information out there that was product of decades of people that came before me. And then with my own research and further investigation and filtering, really put something together that was absolutely unique in the movement. I was able to bring it all together. And then the IRS in early 2000 years did something even more radical to force me to the forefront of exposing income tax in America. What they did was IRS went to the court before the government paid biased judge, dragged the freedom leader like Irwin Schiff, and accused him of being an abusive tax shelter promoter.
Right.
There was no jury at all. And all the government had to prove to the judge was by preponderance of evidence, who has a heavier side, that this guy was doing an abusive tax shelter promoter, which not filing a 1040 income tax confession form was a part of that. And of course, the government paid biased judge always will buy that, oh, the government side is heavier. And sure, he issued an order to the guy, stop what you're doing. I'll put you in prison for contempt of court, 1. 2, you have to give a list of all your customers or clients to the government so they can go whatever they want to investigate them.
Right.
And you have to put on your website this order which shows you're being condemned. You're a scammer.
Yeah.
And if you do it again, you're going to go to jail. So they closed on everybody out there. I was paid. Freedom Law School is the only organization out there which the IRS did not even attempt to take to court to even seek an injunction, which is to stop me from what I was doing. Not just a criminal case, but stop me. And after over 13, 14 years that I know of investigation about trying to close Freedom Law School and me down as an abusive tax shelter promoter, which started before 2003, I'm sure. Finally, in 2016, they formally closed this baseless investigation of Freedom Law School as an abusive tax shelter promotion. I mean, just like the Trump-Russia conspiracy hoax, there was nothing there to begin with, you know. After 13 years, they said, well, there's nothing there, we spent a long time. They closed it down. So I've been explaining this stuff to the American people, and now, Richard, because on internet, anyone can look up the laws for themselves on your smartphone or your home-based computer. It's so easy to show how the government has been lying and deceiving people, how the deep state have been in charge for many decades, going back to at least 1930s, where laws were not accessible. They were only hidden in the law libraries of judges and lawyers, and they scammed us. And there's nothing the government can do to stop me. Nothing, because it's all First Amendment free speech, association, assembly, free press, and the for redress of our grievances against the corrupt, out-of-control government, which is our right, our duty to expose and correct. So that's kind of a little bit of background of how I ended up coming from there sort of to here right now.
Well, First Amendment should be a good way to protect the whole thing, but, they agree to the extent that now they're calling everything they don't like hate speech and shutting it down that way. So they're saying the First Amendment only holds if you're not hateful, and trying to get people to believe that.
Well, in Europe, that's definitely the case because there is no First Amendment guaranteed right of free speech over there in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, you cannot question, you know, you have that in Canada, they have it also in Western Europe. It's sad. But in America, we have a strong First Amendment protections. The problem is, Richard, is too often people are misled by their feelings and their intuition and the possibilities that they think may exist versus the feet on the ground of what's really here on earth going on right now. So the number one problem why patriots lose is because they believe in what they call patriot mythologies. They believe in these theories that sound good, feel right, make sense, but are utterly baseless. And all those theories I already mentioned to you, I don't want to offend anybody. Some of you listeners, I don't know you believe in those things. I don't want to offend you. It's not the purpose. But I used to believe in those things for the first 2 years of the movement until I went to a law library and looked these things up, found out they were baseless. I was teaching baseless patriot mythologies. The reason they don't work, admiralty law, commercial law, UCC, bankruptcy of the United States, HJR 192, sovereignty, citizenship, is because they're all out of context, misreading of the law. What they do, Richard, is excuse the corruption and criminality of the U.S. government, especially the so-called third independent branch of the government that is supposed to be a check on the abuse of power by the other two branches, the judges. The judges are not, in practice, not in theory, in practice, the third independent branch that uphold the Constitution. Almighty holy judge. Whatever the judges say, oh, that's the law. That's what they tell us. But it's not like that. A judge is simply a government worker. I had a case to give you an example of that, Richard, in tax court. In 1996, which I lost, the crooked tax court judge ignored the facts and the law to rule against me. I went to the Court of Appeal. Same thing, rubber stamp the lies. Yet, when in December 2009, IRS came after me for over 10 years of taxes they made up with bogus, totally bogus numbers made up. Close to $700,000 of tax. Much bigger than the other tax court case I had. Over 5-10 times bigger. I was able to zero that out because there was an honest IRS appeals officer, which I explained what happened, and he ruled in my favor. And the tax court judge was forced to rule in my favor. So you never know where you find honesty in government. But this mentality people have that, well, I got the right theory and the judge must uphold it. And this mentality people have, oh, there's a secret amongst them. They don't tell you that, you know, we all were taken over by Uniform Commercial Code in the bankruptcy of the United States in 1933. That's the UCC, right? UCC 1-207. The judges don't tell you we're in the bankruptcy receivership of the United States government. And if you let them know about it, they have to give you way back to common laws, access common law, be free. All this nonsense. That's what getting people in trouble, number one. It's just utterly baseless. And the proof of it is myself. I've been around this movement, Richard, for close to 3 decades. I've seen scores of people over the decades do this nonsense, go to jail, lose all the stuff they had. They'd be like, oh, let's work, I'm right. Macho, founding fathers, sovereign. You know, it's not about that. It's about what's on the ground reality. Is the courts are corrupt. No judge will ever rule that the income tax system is a fraud and been enforced on the American people for decades with the active participation of the wimpy and or crooked judges who conspire with the government lawyers in the Department of Injustice to change the constitutional laws to fit the current corrupt communist socialist system that has been imposed on us since the raw deal, the New Deal of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that corrupt president, agent of the banksters in the 1930s. They're not going to do that. They're going to say on ABC News and NBC, CNN, oh yeah, judge rules income tax is a fraud, folks. You hear the judge say that? Yeah. Judge Johnson said that. Judge Johnson says, I'm not going to be the one that will declare the income tax unconstitutional. I'm just a one lonely judge. You want to do that, go to higher courts. And the courts of appeal, the attitude is, oh, we're not going to upset the system either. No. We're going to rubber stamp this stuff.
Right.
And the Supreme Court refuses to correct it because they don't want to get involved. Because Supreme Court decisions of about 100 years ago clearly made it clear that the income tax is not on the average American's earnings for a living. But the Supreme Court does not want to oppose those, overturn those decisions because it can't. Yet they don't want to upset the apple cart.
Right.
So the judicial corruption is the second reason for the income tax. So people like Irwin Schiff was primarily correct. Bless his soul, Irwin. Thanks for all you've done for all of us, my friend.
Didn't he say the 16th Amendment wasn't ratified and some other stuff like that?
Yes, but doesn't matter. Whether your argument is based upon the Constitution of the United States, Fifth Amendment arguments, 16th Amendment arguments, or the explicit language of the IRS Code, IRS's own regulations. If your argument amounts to destroying the income tax's legality, legitimacy, the judge will not rule on it or ignore it, change the facts, find a way to ignore your rule against you. They're not going to do it. And that's what American people got to realize. Smell the coffee. It rots to Amsterdam. Okay, that's what's going on out there. So if people recognize that now, they are ready to take on the reality of how to fight the corrupt system and win like I have, like many of my students have, beat the IRS on the ground and be free.
So that was the problem you had to solve, right?
Yes.
So what did you figure out?
The way you beat the IRS is on technicalities right now. IRS is a very lazy, corrupt, wasteful organization full of bureaucrats who are typically miserable at their jobs. They hate their jobs. They don't like it. They don't like each other. They don't work very hard. They don't have to work hard. Nobody pushes them to work harder. They go at their own pace and take coffee breaks, and whenever they feel like it. So does their bosses and associates. Many deadwoods they're out doing not much. They just collect their paycheck. It's a living.
Yeah.
All it is to them, it's just a living. And maybe go up a little bit higher rank and get a better pay. Mm-hmm. So IRS is a dying organization like the communist Soviet Union that collapsed of its own weight. I was a child of 1960s and 70s and 80s like you, Richard. I was a young man. And I would have never imagined like you that the Soviet Empire would ever collapse of its own weight.
Right.
You know, this atomic superpower bigger than the United States, collapsed of its own weight. But the IRS is the same thing. So they make a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, a lot of shortcuts that the courts have said you cannot do that. That's illegal. You will not follow the law. You're not following the proper procedures. Look, here I'm going to show you the entire tax laws of America, the Internal Revenue Code to your audience. You see that, folks? This is the Internal Revenue Code. This is a 1999 old copy, worn down. I got it from my old friend Irwin Schiff. You see the date of it right there, July 1999 edition.
Right.
Right? This is, look how thick it is.
So everybody's supposed to memorize that, right?
Oh, we know this. And the regulations are triple as long as this. Toilet paper thin, tiny print. We're supposed to know all this stuff.
Yeah.
Know all this. Well, guess what? I know this stuff better than IRS lawyers. Okay, I was in court, and Sebastian Voth, the attorney of the government and tax court, the last case I had against them, still going on, told me, Peymon, you always teach me something new. He's telling me, the Irish lawyer, I teach him stuff. It's because I had the benefit of Vert Holland, Dave Wellington, Sean O'Connor, Judge Rex, and others that came before me, gave me a great foundation in mid-1990s. Now to take 25 years later to Freedom Law School at this level of advancement to what to do. So I can beat them at the technicalities of the arrogance. Like in my own case, Richard, you know how I made that $700,000 tax? Of 11 years, they imposed on me that filed tax liens against me. Pages and pages of tax liens. The way I zeroed it out was I got the agent's notes who came up with those numbers, and it was based upon him visiting me on the outside of my house to try to collect that old tax case, which I lost, which eventually went away, by the way, with the guys collecting zero from me. It's gone. He was there for a visit, and he saw 5 cars parked outside of my house. So based upon that, he surmised that Freedom Law School needs all this help, so that 5 cars must belong to my employees. He ran the plate ownership of the license plate of those cars, and he found that they do not belong to any of my quote-unquote known relatives. He had a list of my known relatives, and these cars do not belong to any of my known relatives. Therefore, they must belong to my employees.
Right.
Now, this IRS employee was outside my house maybe for an hour, perhaps, or less.
Mm-hmm.
But he went back in his office and assumed that I have 5 employees, not for 1 month, not for 1 year, but for 11 years.
Yeah. Well, typically, if there are 5 cars, it does mean 11 years. So that's,
So on the first IRS appeals, I challenged it with the IRS, the same agent and his manager. They said, no, Peymon, you have to file a tax confession form to disprove us. I said, you're wrong. I don't have to do that. This is a bunch of nonsense. You cannot do this. They said, fine, go challenge us in a collection due process hearing appeal, which I did. Then the first IRS appeals officer who was supposed to give me a hearing said, you could not challenge the tax. I'm here just to work out a payment arrangement by you.
right, right.
You got to be kidding me. I did not have a hearing. Oh, yes, you did. You had the hearing already. Wait a minute. The hearing was with the same person and his manager who came up with his bogus assessment. That's not a hearing, independent hearing. You're supposed to be that new independent hearing. No. Rule against Peymon. She did. On appeal, the Irish lawyer, Sebastian Vaught, an honest guy, realized I was not given a hearing and sent the case back down to the IRS to give me a new hearing with, of course, a new person. And the new guy was an honest guy named Robeson, a black gentleman.
Wow.
I talked to him. I wrote him a letter, explained the law, the facts. Said, look, this is not Iran, where I came from. This is America. You know, you cannot do this. And he obviously passed it by his lawyers above him, Kevin Coy, Sherry Wilders, probably some of these lawyers, which I know, they know me, who get together and conspire against me. And they said, he's right. And we don't want to make a precedent by ruling against him and have the court rule against us. Reverse IRS now at this stage, so it does not become a bigger embarrassment by becoming officially a court case precedent that other people can use. So they approved of him zeroing out the taxes. This is an example of taking advantage of their laziness, of their arrogance, of their incompetence, which is quite common, and you can beat them. In fact, I'll tell you this, Richard, you're going to love this, the audience. I found out that the IRS has officially made a decision institutionally to basically leave, for the most part, people who don't file 1040 income tax confession forms alone, because it's not financially productive. The money spent is not productive. It's easier, much easier financially for money spent to get money out of someone who filed a 1040 income tax confession form, to audit that, challenge that.
Right.
Burden of proof is on the poor citizen who filed the confession form to prove everything. It's a lot easier and more profitable than going after someone who didn't do anything on April 15th. It's a lot more work. So, and in fact, some communist outfits are saying, oh, IRS, that's not the good decision because you're sending the wrong message to people out there. You should go after non-filers. Well, IRS simply does not have enough resources and have to make that decision. At the same time, you don't know this, Richard. Did you know a few years ago, the chief judge of the U.S. Tax Court, named Judge Krupa, was criminally charged by the IRS for tax crimes?
If I hadn't watched your interview with Jeff, I would not know that.
You would not know that.
No.
Or me publicizing it.
Right.
And she filed 1040 confession forms, multiple years under oath, swear it's all true, gave the rope to the IRS to hang her, and they picked her 1040 and hung her. They charged her and the husband, who had filed and paid whatever she said she owed on those 1040 income tax confession forms. And they charged her, and guess what? You would think if anybody can challenge the IRS and say, you're wrong. I know what I'm doing. I did those 1040 forms honestly, and I know the law so well, I can show you I got it right. I know the law. In fact, I rule on tax cases against the government or for the government because I'm the judge of taxes.
Right.
But she could not even defend her case.
You know, what that brings up as a suggestion is that maybe even the judges in a lot of cases have memorized a bunch of stuff, but they never actually thoroughly read the laws.
Well, of course not. Judge Krupa pled guilty, got 34 months in jail without a fight. And yes, they all, just like average American, the average judge or IRS agent, Richard, lives in this matrix of lies that We all gotta file and pay income tax. Otherwise, how are we gonna fight these terrorist Iranians and ISIS and Al Qaeda and North Korea, China, and how we have social security communist system and welfare and food stamps and roads and schools and everything will fall apart. We have to have all these taxes.
Right.
See, they really believe that things will fall apart with all these taxes, which is not true. Okay, so and if everybody doesn't pay their fair share, Richard, then the rest of us have to work and hold harder, pay more, because these tax cheats are not paying their fair share of slavery. See, that's what they got going on. So they never looked at the law. They don't really know what it is. And if they are ever confronted with the truth, they experience what I call cognitive dissonance, which what it is, as you know, is that when you've been lied all your life and believe in lies, once you hear the truth, you will reject it, because the truth is inconsistent with the lies that you've been brainwashed with.
Well, and it's emotionally too threatening, because if one thing is that way, what about everything else? The whole universe starts shaking.
Yes. And people don't have the time or interest, as will be brainwashed, most people, to look at the truth.
Right. Talk for a minute about this, that middle part you went over about the hangman's noose. Mm-hmm. And clarify that for people who don't know what you're talking about.
Sure. So many people, when they hear about there's no law requiring you to file and pay income tax, they automatically say, no. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to take a risk and go to jail like Wesley Snipes, and stuff like that, or Irwin Schiff, Yeah. Well, what they don't realize is that filing a 1040 income tax confession form is much more dangerous than not filing. Because what you're doing is not a return. That 1040 form is not a return. What did you take from the government that you're returning with that return 1040 form? Nothing. What that form truly is a confession form. You're confessing under oath. You're swearing, just like before a judge or a jury, that everything on that form is true, correct, and complete. If everything on those 1040 forms and the schedule attached that you do not understand, which you signed,
right,
is not true, or correct, or complete, you can be now put before jury trial for tax evasion, material misstatement of a fact, and other tax crimes, like tax court judge Krupa was charged. That's what happened to her. Yeah. Multiple felonies. She was looking at going to prison for over 30 years for some piece of paper she filed. So really what you're doing, literally, you are putting a noose around your neck, literally putting a noose, here it is, by signing a 1040 form, putting it out there for the IRS. Anytime, everyone that filed 1040 form, you got your nooses out there, leave it on the table. IRS will go around and might pick on him or her or him or your 1040, pick it up and say, let's get him. Mm-hmm. Let's choose him. Let's make an example out of him every year. They put in jail about 150 or so right now, non-filers, people who do not file 1040 forms in prison. Whereas they put close to 3,000 filers, people who file 1040 income tax confession forms in prison. In other words, they put about 50 and 20 times more filers in jail versus those that do not file.
So if there are details you don't understand, they can almost always find a mistake in the 1040, right?
You make an expense, a deduction, a credit, an amortization schedule, or whatever else. You did not get that right. Guess what? They pick on it, says that was deliberate act of tax evasion.
Right.
You know, I give you one example. Back in 1999, a lady came to my seminar in LA. And she was needed help. She said that, Peymon, my husband is in jail for taxes. We get big royalty checks, and I need to get my husband out. What happened is that they file their tax returns, confession forms every year, you know, loyally, and IRS came and picked out a return. Criminally, you're charged. So what? This must be a misunderstanding. We're good citizens.
Yeah.
Pay our fair share, file tax forms. We have professionals helping us out, do all this. So they go to meet with the IRS and say, look, what is this jail stuff? If there's a mistake, we'll pay the tax. We even pay the penalties. Why would I press in jail? We're not criminals. We did the right full thing of filing the 1040 tax forms like you want us to.
Right.
IRS said, sorry. We're coming after criminally. That's all it is. No, you're charged. So they charge a man and a wife. So they go get a lawyer. They pay a lawyer like I think it was a couple $100,000.
Wow.
That was late 90s money. So today's money would be like over $500,000 to get a great tax lawyer. They had the money because I guess they have these big roles. They were millionaires. They could afford to do that. And the lawyer, after taking all that money from him, said thank you, sat down, and told him, look, here's the problem. You're looking at going to jail for a long time, probably over 20, 30 years. And what if the jury doesn't believe you? He said, but it wasn't our fault. We don't prepare those things. We don't understand these accounting and tax stuff. Right. These tax professionals, they kept our records. They filled out the forms. They just put them in front of us. We just sign it. Right? You go to H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, or TurboTax. Huh? Guess what? You don't know what you're signing, do you, my friends?
No.
So that did the same thing, except with their expensive tax experts who kept the records and prepared them to sign. And I said, you look, if the IRS is going to go after anybody, should go after them, the professionals who prepared that paperwork for us.
All right. And
the lawyer told them, look, that's not how the game works. Legally, you are responsible for signing your own individual 1040 income tax confession form. So the bottom line is this. You can look at trial, go to trial, convince the jury, but in their mind, the jurors are thinking, these guys are millionaires. They're jealous of you making so much money. That if they are innocent, why would the wonderful government and our democracy we vote for, where people have a voice with this God Almighty judge in this great courtroom that we're all intimidated by, with the judge and government lawyer who know so much more about the law, and we're just little sheeple compared to them. They see jurors are cowed by all this authority around them, you know?
Well, plus the judge often tells them exactly how to decide, right?
Well, yes, I'll get to that too. So the jurors, in their mind, they think you're guilty, even though they're told you're innocent until proven guilty. In the back of their mind, feeling-wise, you must be guilty to be here. Yeah. So unless you can basically prove you're innocent, they say, yeah, sure. You claim you didn't have that proof of that expense or deduction, You claim that that was a mistake, honest mistake. Yeah, right. Yeah, honest mistake. Not to pay their taxes. We ain't about buying it.
Right.
So you want to take a chance at that? So my suggestion the lawyer told this couple was, make a deal. So husband, pled guilty, got a few years of jail, so wife can be free, coming to me at the seminar to get her husband out of jail, which I couldn't do. You made a guilty plea. Just like former Chief Judge of the U.S. Tax Court, Judge Krupa, who pled guilty because she knew you cannot defend your 1040 forms. So what's been happening in this matrix of lies, Richard, that deceived us, that your act of enslavement, the act of putting the rope around your neck, signing and filing a 1040 confession form with the IRS is the safest, smartest thing to do so you don't go to jail. But it's the opposite. It's the opposite is true. You put the noose around your neck, so not filing is very difficult for us to come after you. And I'll tell you something else, Richard. It's far worse as a small business owner. Small business owners, independent contractors, commissioned salespeople, you are the number one target of the IRS because the IRS knows, they know, all you small business owners, commissioned salespeople, independent contractors, you cannot pay your fair share of income tax and survive. You have to cheat. You have to make expenses that are phony. And if they come out to look at the expenses you claimed, you won't be able to prove it, they can get you. So one of my students, so they know that. So it's better for them not to file at all than put the rope around their neck and give it to the IRS, Richard.
Pretty interesting. So I'm trying to digest all of what you have been saying and find the patterns and bottom lines and things that are important. And one of the discrepancies, I guess, between the route that you're taking and what all these other groups that you've been mentioning are talking about is that many of them are talking about, for example, if you're a small business owner and you don't know what to do, and they're saying, come up with a strategy and you present your logic to the IRS as being based on something true. But you're saying just don't deal with these people because as soon as you open communication, you're endangering yourself. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. I've had IRS agents that come to me, at least several, who come to me and told me about the inside of the IRS. One of them was a guy who used to be IRS auditor in California. Came to my classes back in 1996. Said, Peymon, you're right about everything you're saying. I'm here for a few more years to retire, and we've been friends since. I won't give his name, but he said, one time he gave me a booklet, the IRS's own official book on tax protesters, the 1995 book on how to get tax protesters. And he identified in this book all the schemes of tax protesters, arguing about this argument or that argument or that argument. And then he had another category was non-filers. And I have this on one of my websites. I'm going to put it on this website. The IRS says this: non-filing schemes. This is a quote. Non-filing schemes involve individuals who have never filed or stopped filing a tax return. Period. These individuals are the most difficult to identify because they do not readily identify themselves by sending in protest letters.
Right, exactly.
So when you're saying, IRS, leave me alone because I'm a sovereign, I'm a U.S. national, I got my straw man, I did my revocation of power of attorney or a rescission of my power of attorney or whatever else I've done, you're saying, hi, IRS, hello, I'm one of those tax protesters out there. You look at me, maybe nail one of them. make an example of them, like Wesley Snipes did that. That's what Wesley Snipes did too. He wrote to the IRS, you owe the money. He sent a phony draft to pay off the IRS, his tax debt, gets some of the money back. That's what you guys identify somebody, make an example out of. Well, I'm volunteering. You want to pick me? Pick me, pick me. Like the donkey in Shrek, pick me.
Yeah, I remember.
Right? That's what you're doing.
Right.
That's what the old book says. So if you don't identify yourself by writing to the IRS back, unless you absolutely have to, the time is proper to challenge the IRS, you're doing that, you're just simply saying, pick me, try to put me in jail, or come after me. In fact, that's what I did back in 1993 myself. Back then, I went from the adhesion contract theory to the state citizenship theory. Then we are, as state citizens of California Republic, I'm a non-resident alien with respect to the singular government of Washington, D.C. My guru was a guy named Richard McNally, who passed away a few years ago. So John, another friend of mine who was in this a few months longer than me, came to me in a couple of hours and said, oh, I attended these AT&T seminar, these people, and I found the proper way how to get refund of your money by being as a state citizen, filing your 1040 as a non-resident alien. At $600 of withholding in 1992, and I was so poor, that was a lot of money to me. I would have liked to get that money back.
Sure.
I trusted John to show me how to fill it out right, and I did what he said. Sent it in as a non-resident alien. Guess what? That's how the IRS came after me at that time, because I identified myself. Hello, I claim I'm a sovereign state citizen as a non-resident alien with respect to Washington, D.C. You want to come after me? And I got documentation, Richard, that they had me under criminal investigation for 22 months. They ended up because, okay, we can't find anything criminal on this guy. Let's go after him for money civilly. They turned over to his agent, who said, let's make some tax assessment for 1992, which I filed for. Oh, well, we had it. Let's add 1993 and 1994 as well. You see? So I learned from that mistake myself. So these patriots who write letters to the IRS, that's the worst thing you can do, my friend. And I'll talk about this stuff, I teach you about this stuff at livefreenow.org, Freedom Law School's website. If you go to Freedom Law School YouTube channel and type at youtube.com, go type in search Freedom Law School. Our channel will come up and have all kind of classes on all these different topics that are covered in more detail for your listeners, Richard.
Okay, this is a good time to talk about the structure of how Freedom Law School works. And you brought up so many incredible points. I mean, we could do this for 10 hours and not really finish all of them. If I start keeping you too long, let me know. But I want to get some kind of completion, even if it's a microcosm of what you really need to teach people. So you used to be in California, right? That's where I first saw Freedom Law School. And you moved to school, is that correct?
Yes.
When did you do that?
6 years ago, I moved to Central Florida.
Just because you wanted to live there, or was there a strategic reason?
Well, combination of reasons. I was tired of the International Communist Republic of Mexicania. They deliberately let all these people from South America come to America, give them free health care, free school education for the kids, give birth and hospitalization because you're poor. And the middle class, had to pay for the taxes. And Democrats completely took over the state, became officially a communist party. The Democrat Party should be labeled as the Socialist Communist Party of America. And that's what they want to do to the entire country now. And I saw about 12 years ago, by doing that, and the high birth rate of the immigrants versus white Americans who were here first, the Golden State, 12 years ago, there was more Latino and Mexican Californians than white people. It has become now far different. I mean, how do you change the political composition of the largest state of the union? by keep importing them. And that's why the Democratic Party is the party of the foreigners to come and give you freebies. You vote socialist communist. That's why they hate Donald Trump, because he's stopping that, or slowing it down, I should say. So I want to get away from all that gun control. The government's so oppressive, so tyrannical. The income tax, the California franchise tax were so outlawed, so aggressive, far worse than the IRS. Right. You know, and I came for a visit to Florida, and I was amazed. Wow, this place is beautiful. You know, and it's got more rain, greenery, and none of this traffic in Central Florida, Tampa, Orlando area. No traffic, peaceful, no gangs, not even graffiti. Can you believe that? No graffiti. You know, to live in a decent neighborhood that doesn't cost an arm or a leg. In that Los Angeles area, you have to live in a nice neighborhood, not to have graffiti on your name. You can't afford that.
Yeah.
So the cost of living was so much lower. The housing was so incredibly cheaper. It was just like, yeah, I should be moving here as soon as I can. And so Florida has replaced California as a golden state. Florida, back in the 50s and 60s and 40s, California was the #1 destination for in South America, people to the golden state. Hence the song California Dreaming by Mamas and Papas in the 1960s, you remember. That was back then. Now Florida has replaced it, not Texas. Florida is the #1 state where people from other states come here to live, because it's overall the #1 freedom-oriented state in the country. It's Florida.
Interesting.
#1 in taxes, lowest all over, not just now the income tax, but overall lowest. Texas has a high property tax. New Hampshire has a high property tax. Alaska, Hawaii, and South Dakota have no state income tax, have very bitter cold weather. Again, Nevada is heck. And a communist state now because of Las Vegas influence from California. Las Vegas has destroyed Nevada. Another communist state it is. Arizona's becoming communist. Colorado's already communist. New Mexico and Oregon and Washington are communist because of Portland, Seattle, and the big cities are communist. You got to get out of those cities, folks. Maybe the suburbs, go to country suburbs away where people understand freedom, independence from this. You see everybody on top of each other in the cities. That's not natural for us to be living on top of each other in the cities. You know, so these are all reasons to come to Florida for me.
So you're doing this. You've got a structure where your classes are online, or are they DVDs or downloads, or how do you do that?
Well, I started back in 1994 teaching live classes in my home, in my living room, which I recorded.
Okay.
And I make those available. It covers so much of the fundamentals that people want to get, because it's a structured 9 classes for about 20 hours with paperwork to listen in their cars. And since about a year ago, I started putting on YouTube video about different topics which complement and add to that, because that was not available way back then. So that's how I do that. And I bring a lot of free information available for everybody to do. For example, I encourage everybody, Richard, to print out the law as published by the United States House of Representatives, Supreme Court cases, along with the letters I provide for them, to send your congressman, and confront the lawmakers about where's the law that requires me to file an income tax? Where's the law that requires me as an employee who earns the wages or salaries to have withholding from my paycheck, when the law published by Congress says withholding is only from foreign individuals, partners, and corporations? That's it. Non-resident aliens are the only ones subject to withholding. The employer company I work for is a withholding agent only for the non-resident aliens, not me. Here's the law. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I put a lot of this kind of information increasingly when I have time, because I'm very busy, on Freedom Law School's website at livefreenow.org. We need to have this legal political approach in combination out there. The political approach is our right, is our duty to have our government become honest and have everybody in government follow their oath to uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Right.
By respecting everybody's individual rights, by following the Constitution and its spirit of it, which is the Declaration of Independence. So, and the legal part protects you. Because if they want to come after you, try to put you in jail, you got the law. And you did the right thing, Richard, by writing a congressman, the lawmakers, all three of them, and ask them to correct you. When they do not correct you, obviously you are right, because they shouldn't have corrected you. Now, the government will not dare take you before a jury. Because if they do, the jury will see, this guy is a hero. He's not a crook, tax cheat. The cheats and liars are over there. The government lawyers on that bench with the U.S. Department of Injustice, U.S. attorneys. See, they don't want to expose themselves. As long as they got the vast majority of Americans busy on the smartphones with entertainment, and sports and all the frivolous activities, right? They don't know, they don't care, right?
Right.
They're good. They can leave us alone. Oh, that little patriotic freedom guys like Freedom Law School. Leave them alone. Last time we went after Peymon kicked our butt. We went after him for $700,000 for 11 years, and he zeroed it out. Shoot. Why give him that victory? Do not get Peymon another victory by doing that. You see, they know I know law very good. So they'll learn a lesson. So they say, let's just keep the fraud going. We control the media. And we control the educational communist system. We have a communist educational public school system. Let that stuff do its job. That's how they.
So one question, and then I'll get to the main one. That I'm assuming from all you've said that Freedom Law School is exclusively focused on tax-related law. Is that right?
Yes and no. The foundation of the Freedom Law School is rooted in my spirituality. That I believe in we're here on earth to do the right thing. To be good, loving, peaceful, truth-seeking people. As the Zoroastrians, the oldest religion in the world, said, think good things, say good things, and do good things. It's always been that kind of a motto. That's where I come from. And there are natural laws we're created to live in peace.
That was the original religion of Iran, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. Older than Judaism or Confucianism of China, yes. So I believe in those principles, but how do you apply that to human conduct and law and freedom in the modern America? That manifestation is in Freedom Law School. How do you manifest that angle of it? So, yes, I do talk about the income tax the most, only because that is where the average American gets touched and hurt the most by the corrupt system. Right. And it's an opening for them to see that, wait a minute, if I be lied about this income tax, what else am I lied about? How about the Federal Reserve? Our money system is privately owned. Okay, the banks make money out of thin air. Chase, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo City, they're the heads of the beast. They own the New York Federal Reserve, who's the head of the beast in America. All the money system is created by them. And all these lies about wars, all these wars been involved. The last just war America was involved with was the War of 1812 with England, when America was attacked by England. Since then, all the wars America been involved in were all based upon lies and fraud and deception.
So it sets them up to investigate all these other areas because of the experience with the taxes.
Yes.
Right. And the part that you really give them the detail on is that first foundational part about taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're starting from scratch to just considering learning about all this stuff, realizing that they need to, because there are two alternatives: learn about it or get blindsided when something comes up that you don't expect. Mm-hmm. So if they want to start at the beginning, which is the most common, what do they do related to your school?
Well, first they can go to livefreenow.org, and right there they can request for free for a Freedom Education Package to be mailed to them at no charge. It costs Freedom Law School $5 to create and mail one, no charge. Everybody gets one.
Okay.
2, they're going to get regular email, a curriculum by email I send to them about once every 10 days.
Okay.
Of stuff they need to know, like the documentary America Freedom to Fascism by Aaron Russo, for example. You know about that.
That was great, yeah.
They're going to get a bunch of fundamental stuff that they need to know to get the eyes opened up. So everybody gets that. On our YouTube channel, by the way, pretty soon we're going to be on Brighteon and BitChute, because I expect one of these days to YouTube to censor Freedom Law School. So we're going to be on Brighteon and BitChute as a backup in the near future.
Right.
So, but there's a lot of our Freedom Hour. Once we have a Freedom Hour, call it Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, where I cover a topic, and then I answer people's individual freedom questions afterwards. So I do that. That's another way.
Is this all free introductory stuff for people?
All free.
Okay.
All of this for free. And I really recommend people take advantage of all the free information as much as possible. I recommend everybody go to Staples, Office Depot, buy one of those $20 cell phone mounting devices to put in front of your driver's front windshield. A little bit, 1 foot to your right, you can drive. It's right there, you can adjust it, you can listen as you're stuck in traffic, educate yourself. If you cannot safely look at the cell phone, don't look. But if you can safely look, go ahead and look and educate yourself. Listen to it more times, and you start getting I'm getting deprogrammed out of the matrix of lies. Okay, truck drivers are my favorite students because they're stuck behind that wheel. It's a class that entertains me without being bored behind the truck. Okay, so I would recommend people do that. Now, the first course that I did, as I was saying, Richard, in 1994, is a course called A Practical Road to Freedom, from Oppressive Taxation and Control, Level 1. It is a course in law and procedures for those who are committed to living a free life. So that course is $300 20 years ago. It's still only $300 with a 90-day unconditional money-back guarantee or free rental. Anybody can get it. Listen to it for 3 months. Send it back in good shape, and they get the money refunded. Just rent it out with a deposit, basically.
Send it back. You mean, is it a DVD type course?
CDs. All CDs and one DVD, and about 200 pages of paperwork on a CD. They can print out at their home.
What's the name of it again, Peymon?
A Practical Road to Freedom, from Oppressive Taxation and Control, Level 1. I call it Level 1 course because there is also a Level 2 course and other courses that I have as well that I developed over the years.
Okay.
So that's a foundational course, and all the other freedom packages that I've developed over the years have that as a foundation of education. It's a must-have. And that's one of the reasons why, Richard, IRS never came after me. Never try to close Freedom Law School down as an abusive tax shelter promotion. Because Freedom Law School has always been about education. Number one is political and legal education combined together. It's completely First Amendment. And they know if they take me to court and lose, that would be a huge loss for them. So rather avoid me and keep me in obscurity of internet. Like your audience, they didn't know about me on ABC, right. CNN, Fox News, right? How come no one's talking about it? Because I'm not mainstream. They hope that your audience doesn't know about me. Okay? Right. So that's a foundation, that education. And I always tell people, folks, don't believe me, the government, or anybody on the internet. I will show you the law from the government's own website. Read the law for what it says. One time, Richard, an IRS spy called me a few months before they closed that investigation of me as an abusive tax shelter promoter. An IRS spy called me. I knew his job was to close the case. How do I know? His name was not on the IRS envelope. Some bogus address of a non-LLC, that whatever that. Nothing was there, no paperwork, no phone number to call. He called and he said, I'll call you back at my appointment time. No call back number for me. So that's a spy for you, okay? And the guy wanted me to tell him, show me when I'm not requalifying income tax. I took him to our government's own website. Read the law. So he says, Peymon, you tell me I'm not required to file income tax? I tell you, I'm just telling you, read the law for yourself. You just read the law for yourself. Where is wages and salaries in IRS Code Section 61 that defines gross income, for example, that makes it taxable? How come it's not there? You see it right in front of you. This IRS agent was obviously recording the call. Mm-hmm. Now, how the heck could he use that call before jury and say, Peymon or judge say this guy's a cheat, is a liar, he is a tax shelter promoter? He couldn't do that. It would expose them as a fraud. You see, so that's why that course is so important, because it covers so much of the basics at the foundation of everything else. The freedom packages I've developed above that for people who also want consultation, assistance, peace of mind, protection. I've got packages above that also for those who are interested in that.
Okay. And one of the 3 free things that you said is in the beginning was some kind of hour on the phone or time on the phone where you meet once a week and get to talk about this stuff?
Yes. Every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time Zone, Richard.
Okay. And how do people get into that call?
They go to youtube.com, mm-hmm. type in Freedom Law School. Freedom Law School channel will come up. They go there, and at 7 p.m. will come up. Or better yet, if they go to livefreenow.org, mm-hmm. Freedom Law School's website, right. Sign up to get our free freedom education package mailed to them. We will email them, notify them, and also by YouTube that, hey, Freedom Law School got coming up a Freedom Hour going to be presented tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Listen about this topic, which will be taught to you, and afterwards they can ask questions.
Okay. All right. And then you also, I think you mentioned you do some private consultations with people sometimes when you have time for that. Do you still do that?
Yes. You know, what happened, Richard, is that I was teaching people courses because I've always believed in helping people fish for themselves instead of giving a fish to a man. You give fish for a man one day, you just help him that day. But if you teach him how to fish, you help him for life. So that's been one of my guiding philosophies, to help and empower other people. That's why Freedom Law School was taught to school people about the law and the rights and the proper procedures for them to apply to be free. However, back in 1999 and 2000, I had, some people ask me, Peymon, I don't have the time or interest to listen to all these 10 courses you've developed, but I need some help with the IRS. You know your stuff. Help me out, please. I'll pay you. Like other people charge. Eddie Kane, with the guy that got Wesley Snipes in trouble, Urban Schiff, others, charge. Saving Patriot Fellowship, Free Enterprise Society, these guys charge for the services. You know, why don't you do the same thing? I was reluctant because my goal as this again was to help people help themselves, not be dependent upon me or anybody else.
Yeah.
But I realized that, you know, sometimes this stuff is too complex and people don't have either time, intelligence, patience, or perseverance, or combination of the above to really go through and win.
Right.
So there's a need that I need to serve people. I'm here to serve other people. So I thought, okay, I guess I can do something like that. So how would I do that? I did not want to abandon Freedom Law School's aim and goals of educating and empowering people. That was number one, still is. So, and I want to make as much of it available free or inexpensive as much as possible to help a largest number of people. But then again, I thought, well, if people want to, pay to help them, I could do a better job than any other organizations out there or tax attorneys. In fact, my friend Dave Wellington was a great paralegal, one of the best paralegals in the country I've ever met. Mm-hmm. Or Robert Clarkson, former attorney who used to run the Patriot Network. He passed away about 10 years ago. They both told me, Peymon, you need to start doing your thing. You provide services also for people. Yeah. They both encouraged me also.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, if these guys have been at it longer than me, and I know they're both intelligent and wise men, they're telling me I should do this. Maybe I should listen. Maybe this is a message to me. So I started doing that. So what I did is, in addition to level 1 course, the foundational course, I put together a collection of books and videos and material from other groups and organizations and authors, which I found that were good stuff. For example, The Law by Fred Gabastier, a great little booklet by this former passed away French legislature in 1800s, who talks about the proper function and role of government. Lysander Spooner and others. So I put this material together along with other material to write to the congressmen, to confront them, and to educate them about the Constitution, about the income tax, because they don't know.
Right.
What's a politician? A guy who won a popularity contest.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about the law. There's no requirement for you to know about the law before you win the popularity contest. I become a politician. They gotta be educated. By who? We the people. It's our job to get it done. So that material is there also to send to them. And that became the beginner's freedom package. I figured it's a good start. It's affordable. It's less than $1,000, only $900. And with a 1-hour private one-on-one consultation with me to answer their whatever freedom question they may have about their current paperwork, questions, concerns. So I charge $500 an hour for my time, which is cheap because a lawyer, tax lawyer, who knows this stuff well, they charge $1,000 an hour or more. Okay. Well, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a member of the bar, but I know about the stuff that I don't want to be arrogant, sound arrogant, but really no one else I know out there knows what I know. I teach the lawyers out there in the freedom movement this stuff, about how to handle the IRS money stuff, because they usually do criminal cases only, tax lawyers in the movement. Yeah. So this way they get to, talk to me as well as get the material, and it's affordable. And I always let people make payment if they need to get these courses or freedom packages.
Right.
They can put a third down or less sometimes and make a payment with no credit check. I just trust people, Richard. You're a good person. Get the education you want. If you don't want it, you can send the stuff back. I had a guy who couldn't afford to finish the payment on his own, send some of the material back on his own. You're a good person. I trust and believe in people's conscience. Yeah. So most people are not paying it off in payment plan. That's fine. So now that's something I did. And then what I did above that, I put two other levels of program, Richard. One of them is called the Simple Freedom Package, and then the top of the line called the Royal Freedom Package. The Simple Freedom Package is the Beginner's Freedom Package with two things added. I gave people, number one, unlimited consultation. And the reason that was important because I believe in preparation, planning. An ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, they say. Mm-hmm. Too often, Richard, people make mistakes early on that way down the road is the downfall 2 years from now, 6 years from now. So, and I wanted people to be able to talk to me and plan things and do the right things and avoid the common mistakes, which I talk a lot about in our courses, in the level 1 course. Right. I talk a lot about those things, but I want that individualized help that people want, that human contact, get their concerns addressed. Unlimited. They don't have to pay me $500 an hour and say, oh, I don't have money to pay Peymon. I think I won't ask him that question. I think I'll figure out on my own because I don't want to pay him.
Right, right.
I don't want anybody to have that contention within them, you know. You need to talk to me. You want to get your question answered? Call, set up a time. I'm there for you.
Right.
So that's why I put unlimited. And people say, unlimited, you can do that? Yes.
Yeah.
How could you afford it? Unlimited. Because that level 1 course, a practical road to freedom from oppressive taxation and control, covers so much stuff that you want and need to know that you're going to not need me that much.
Right, right, right.
Now with the recording on the Freedom Hour Thursday nights, which I have on YouTube channel of Freedom Law School, even more specialized topics are recorded. I can give them the answer, and I say, listen to this particular Freedom Hour program, and that will give you more detailed answer to that particular question or concern of yours.
Right.
So my need to give them one-on-one private time is minimized.
Yeah.
And frees up my time to help more people out there.
That was a great plan.
Then what I did is also I want to address, Richard, the people's biggest fear of most people about income tax. I don't want to go to jail. They'll put you in jail if I don't file income tax. Everybody knows that. If you don't file, you're going to go to jail like Wesley Snipes or Urban Schiff. I hear that all the time.
Right.
So I have to put that fear to bed. So what I did, first of all, is with the letters we send to congressmen, where it's political and legal in combination, we confront them about the legality income tax issue. Okay? One of my students, Joe Bannister, was a former gun-carrying Irish special agent.
Yeah.
With the IRS's Criminal Investigation Division. In 5 years, he put 4 different business owners in prison. All small business owners, like I told you, they're the biggest target.
Right.
And in 1997, he came across Freedom Law School and Bill Conklin and others. And I educated him with others about income tax fraud, and he quit the IRS, wrote a book about income tax fraud. And in fact, James, could you give me his Joe Bannister book back there, please, James, back there? Steve?
Yes.
Give me Joe Bannister's report for me. I'm going to show the audience what it looks like. There are different editions of it, please. He gave that book to the IRS manager of him, which sent it to the headquarters of the IRS in Washington, D.C., Criminal Investigation Division headquarters. And he wrote a respecting letter to the commissioner of the IRS, Charles O. Rosati, about I'm supposed to report fraud, abuse of power, illegality, anything wrong I see. And I do see that in this book. I'm living by my oath to uphold the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. So I need you to address these concerns because what I see what I'm doing is illegal. A violation of my oath to uphold the Constitution a violation of people's rights. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Otherwise, I gotta leave this job. I cannot do this thing. My conscience does not allow me to do this thing. I got to be true to my oath of office.
Right.
But the government didn't answer him, told him, his manager gave him a piece of paper that says, I was told to give this to you. We said, Joe, we will not answer you. If you want, we'll give you a week paid vacation. Think about it, what you want to, or resign if you want to. We will not answer you. He resigned. And although I wanted to stay and give him hell from the inside, but Joe was too naive back then. He thought he comes out, Joe, everybody will know a former special agent quit. He didn't realize how media in this country is controlled. He didn't know that at that time. He quit, unfortunately. And then, so when he did that, there was give me the other copy, the color copy to the first one. Ask her, she'll tell you. Yeah, the other copy. And he was put on debates with the government in Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club by this non-profit foundation called We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education.
All right.
And he was several times flown from California to debate the IRS, the U.S. Department of Injustice government lawyers, heads of Congress or the representatives, to debate the legality of income tax for American people. But they never show up. They never show up. They cannot afford one government lawyer, one IRS employee say, oh, you're wrong. The law that requires the file of income tax, Internal Revenue Code, oh, here it is. You see this Internal Revenue Code? Look at this. This is the code section right here on this page. They never did anything like that. They always hide. In fact, one time, Jason Furman, a deep state character who was an economic advisor to the Clinton administration, told the head of this We the People Foundation that the legality of the income tax is not a high priority item at the White House. And we will not participate in any conference on the subject. Now think about that, Richard. Think about that for a minute, everybody, folks. The arrogance, the gall, the chutzpah of the government outright saying, we don't care if the income tax is legal or not, we just want your money. Well, who does that? Only a criminal, a lawless criminal, thief who just wants your money at all costs. They are thieves, criminals. To them, it's all about the money. The deep state, they want more money, power to themselves. Okay? Your audience did not know about this. So all this stuff and more will be sent to the congressman. There was U.S. Today ads paid for by this foundation to expose all this. 4 different U.S. Today ads. And USA Today at the end said, no more ads for you. Because we're obviously pressured not to give exposure to them. Right. So all this is sent to the government. Here's Joe Bannister's report about income tax fraud called Investigating the Federal Income Tax. This is the back of it. There's a picture of Joe Bannister. Yeah. See that? He was a gun-carrying special agent with the Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS. I printed and distributed his book, the first edition, for him. Okay? And this is the second edition of the book he did. This is his newest book, okay, which is not a preliminary report, but reports to the American people. Freedom also has it available. And so all this and video of Joe Bannister, this documentation, is sent to the congressman to educate them, confront them to follow the Constitution, reining the deep state IRS crooks who are impoverishing, making American people poor. Okay, that's their job, to control, rein in this creature that Congress created under the powers that they can do. So the government will not want to come after you. if you've done this stuff. Because if you've done this stuff, all this stuff will get to go before the jury. You get to educate the jury about how government cannot show the law, requiring you to file income tax. If you do that, you win. That's a huge hurt to the credibility of government. So they'd rather not take a chance and will leave you alone. You don't have to worry about going to jail for income tax.
Is it possible to say how far in your courses the average person has to get before they're somewhat, competent on that level?
Immediately.
So level 1 course.
They don't need to be that competent right away. In order to be safe from going to jail, they need to send out this material that's in the beginner's freedom package. I showed you part of it to the congressman. Now you got a legal defense, as well as done the political work.
Yeah, because if you were trying to cheat, you wouldn't have asked the congressman to show you were wrong.
Who is going to go to the lawmakers to say, look at this stuff, and if I'm wrong, let me know? What would a criminal with a mafia write to the government about this stuff? No. The honest person would do that.
What point in the program does writing to the congressman come? Is that the free part of the level 1 course where that comes up?
That they can do it for free themselves. It's on our website on the educational materials on the Educate Congress tab. They can do it themselves, or they can do it through our beginners, simple, or Royal Freedom Package. Freedom Law School will do it for them. They sign the papers. Freedom Law School will mail it out for them at no charge. But the simple and the Royal Freedom Package have a legal defense fund that Freedom Law School will pay the lawyers and paralegal fees to defend them in court if necessary.
And which people does that apply to?
Those who get the simple freedom package and the Royal Freedom Package.
Okay, and where do those fit into the course? Are those after level 1 or?
Yes.
Okay.
So look at this. This is level 1 course. First stage, $300, right?
Right.
Next step is the bigger freedom package, $900. It includes the level 1 course and more material. The next step is the simple freedom package. Simple freedom package, you add unlimited consultation and the criminal legal defense fund. All criminal defense costs will be paid by Freedom Law School.
And how much does that cost?
That's $5,000 for the first year and $1,500 for second year and each year thereafter to maintain membership.
Okay.
That's as of February 1st, 2020.
Okay.
Right. Next level, the Royal Freedom Package adds a very powerful, key, valuable part that everybody wants. That's Civil Defense Fund, which means all that writing for money of any sort that comes up, Freedom Law School will do at no additional charge. IRS audits, letters, summonses, notice deficiency, they want to take you home, whatever. Anything comes up will be done at no extra charge. It is called the Royal Freedom Package, Richard, because it's truly what it is. There is no other program like that out there at any cost. No CPA tax firm, law firm, tax lawyer has anything that will do everything for you, unlimited at no extra charge.
Right.
They always say, depends on the IRS. They might come after you a lot. I have to charge you $300 an hour for my time, or $600 an hour. How many hours? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. See?
Right.
So with Freedom Law School, all covered.
So the Royal Package supersedes the simple package if you want to change to that, right?
Yes.
And how do you charge for that?
As of February 1st, 2020, it's $8,000 for the first year. The second year, each year thereafter, is only $4,000 per year. For Californians only, it's $4,500 per year.
Right.
And it is the only IRS insurance peace of mind program out there. People say, I don't want IRS to put me in jail or take my stuff, and leave me poor. Well, guess what? Freedom Law School would get everything done for you properly. You're going to be protected. Got a defense program right in the Congress. I pay the lawyer's fees. IRS comes after you for money. Responsible done for you. And I will make sure you don't make the common mistakes of most patriots. And you do the right things that need to get done. So you prepared and planned right. For example, two most common mistakes of American patriots is, one, they write to the IRS about their illegality of income tax issue. They say, IRS, here I am. You want to get a tax protester? Come and get me. That's a mistake number one. Don't do that. Do not write them until you need to at the proper time, which at Freedom Law School I teach, and I do. Two, they don't give the IRS their address when they move. Unfortunately, I don't like it. I hate it. But the way the law is written, IRS, in order to come after you, they have to send you some letters, key letters, to your last address that they had of you on your 1040 income tax confession form, or you put a change of address with the post office, or you wrote the lawyer. I wrote the IRS to give them your correct address. And you must document that you did one of these things if push comes to shove. You have to prove that you've done that. You did not know when you turn 18 that whenever you move, you have to give IRS master, hey master, I moved my address. Hey master, you can find me here. You are not taught that, sadly. That's how the corrupt system is. Otherwise, you will not get the letters and you will not get to challenge them. So you must let them know your address is. Could be a post office box, private mailbox, your cousin's address, your father's, mother's address, or your home. Doesn't matter. But you got to give them an address where you get the mail, and the important ones, you challenge. The unimportant ones, they're as worthless as a $3 phony dollar bill.
So if people haven't done that for a long time, you tell them to, regardless of their status, go ahead and do that.
Absolutely. People often them come to me, IRS is trying to levy my paycheck, take my paycheck, got liens on me. I never got a letter from the IRS. It's illegal. How did they do this? I haven't filed income tax for 5 years or 10 years. I never got a letter from them. So I asked them, did you move? Well, yeah, I moved a couple times. Did you give them your new address? No. I just want them to leave me alone in peace. Well, I do too. But the crooked law, the way it's written, you have to tell them where you're at. You didn't know that. Right. So I was sending letters to your old address. You did not challenge them. So now they can go, they fixed, determine the amount of tax and can go collect. And now you have to pay the tax in full and then sue for a refund. What? Is that how it is? Sadly, yes. That's how it is. I don't like it. So what do? Make sure you give them you write a simple letter, give them your name, address, new and old address, and be sure to include your Satan surveillance number that they gave you.
Right.
They can track you. The Satan surveillance number, SSN,
right.
Misnamed social security number. That's the satanic method of keeping track of you where you're at. Otherwise, on the computers, they cannot find you, and the change of address is not valid. So you do that, you keep record of it, the certified mail piece with the stamp of the post office, have that and a letter. So 4 years from now, 10 years from now, question comes up, I give them my correct address. The dumb IRS did not correct the records. It's their problem, judge. And the judge will rule against the IRS.
Right.
Okay?
Right. It's a lot of material, Peymon. I think it gives people a place to start with the free material and going to the website. And maybe we can do an update at a future time, because this is really important stuff, and it pretty much applies to everybody in the country. Mm-hmm. And so see what kind of feedback we get. And I hope everybody goes to your website immediately before they forget. And hold on, and we'll say goodbye in the break here. Okay, you guys, there goes Peymon Mottahedeh. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Peymon. Great guest. And as I told him when he was leaving, as the first real approach, to the whole legality of what to do to handle the taxes correctly that I've heard of, that doesn't sound like it would get you in jail for even if you're correct. And that's, as we were talking about, that's kind of an important detail that I've compared it many times to coming to a four-way stop sign. And in most states, I think the car to your right gets to go first. So if you're the car on the right and you say, there's this big truck that hasn't come to the stop sign yet, you are correct that you can go first. But if you go first and the truck runs over you, it's not as good. So that's how a lot of these tax systems have seemed to me up to now. And his doesn't sound like that, especially since, as he described, it's already been thoroughly tested and demonstrated. And it can be looked into by anybody who's interested. Remember, his website is livefreenow.org. And I haven't been there yet. I haven't even had time. But apparently there's a free package and a lot of free material you can look at, free curriculum and free meeting every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Eastern Time on the YouTube channel. So, which is probably under livefreenow.org and maybe also his name, or Freedom Law School. And sounds like a really good thing to look into more. I had a very solid feeling from what I've seen about their work so far. So I feel very fortunate to have gotten to hear Peymon's presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. So anyway, as I always remind people, if and when we get kicked off of the major platforms that you're watching us on now, we are on Brighteon. We've got a fairly new account there, and you can now subscribe to it if you want to be reminded when we have new videos and things like that. And that address to subscribe to it on is Brighteon, brighteon.com/channel/Lost Arts Radio. And also our main site, lostartsradio.com. And the nonprofit site that keeps everything going is lostartsresearchinstitute.org. There's some interesting stuff there that you might like to look at. And we're not doing commercials, as you may have noticed. I'm not saying we never will, but anything that we promote like that, it has to feel really totally clean, because if we ruin the atmosphere of this project, then we lose the whole thing. And so right now, up to now, we're not doing any commercials. The only money we're getting, which all goes to the nonprofit to keep us going, is if you donate money on the donate buttons at lostartsradio.com or lostartsresearchinstitute.org. That's deeply appreciated. There's also a mailing address for the nonprofit there that you can use if you want to do it that way. We do have a Subscribestar account, fairly new one that Doug set up, which is at subscribestar.com/lostartsradio. And we have private sessions that I do with people once in a while. Usually it's about health information that they need, or life situation information, things like that. If you feel like you need one of those, that's also another way to support us, because all money from that goes to the nonprofit to keep us going. And we need support, not if you're struggling for survival, of course, but if you've got the means and you believe in good stuff that we're doing, we definitely appreciate it. Also, to stay in touch, in case you can't find us at some point, go to our main site, lostartsradio.com, and look for the place where you can get your name and email on our mailing list, which we'll use if we can't reach you any other way, and you want our material. And you can get on that list also by texting name and an email address to 928-235-4676 or email info@lostartsradio.com. And Doug reminded me that we are on several audio-only platforms. Blog Talk Radio we've been on for a long time, but now besides iTunes, we're also on Stitcher and TuneIn, which are popular audio programs. Told you about Subscribestar and Brighteon, donate buttons, Planetary Healing Club. I need to mention, because if you want to get more deeply into some of these things as they apply to your own life situation, and you want to transform your quality of life, which is a really important prerequisite to making the best contribution to the world that you can, that's what Planetary Healing Club is for. And there are small dues that we use to support the nonprofit, but take a look at it. You'll see if it's worth the time for you. It would be nice to see you there. It's live, interactive. I'm there every week, so is Doug. And the access point for that private platform that's a lot more resistant to censorship is planetaryhealingclub.com, planetaryhealingclub.com, and that way you can get right in. No long-term obligation. You can quit that anytime if you want to. Told you about the private sessions. We've got a new tab on lostartsradio.com that Doug just set up, and it's let's see if I can find where I wrote it here. lostartsradio.com/private hyphen, like a dash, and then sessions. lostartsradio.com/private hyphen sessions. Or you can just go to lostartsradio.com and you'll see that the private sessions is one of the tabs there. It has a lot of information on what we can do privately. If you're a candidate for one of those, just take a look at it and you'll know whether it would be useful to you. I think that's about it. Remember, the Sunday shows will continue with the most interesting and informative and inspiring guests and organizations that we can find. We've got the Saturday live show at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday, and it's 1/2 hour before the Planetary Healing Club private meeting, where we can work on your own life situations and health information and stuff like that. That starts a 1/2 hour after the Lost Arts Radio Live, and you can't get into that unless you go through planetaryhealingclub.com, and that gets you in. Anyway, it'd be fun to see you there if you're up to it. There's some work involved in that. You have to actually start doing the things that will change your experience of life, but it's worth it. So you'll know if that's something that you want to do. And people anywhere in the world can be part of that. We're going to keep doing what we can online as long as it's available, and then eventually, if there's money for it in the nonprofit, we're planning to do something as a physical school, and that's going to be exciting. So in the meantime, we'll meet you here next time. I hope you have a great week. Thanks for being with us. We really appreciate you, and wish you the best until I see you here next time. Talk to you soon.
Introducing Lost Arts Radio on Subscribestar.com. Just go to subscribestar.com/lostartsradio to find our rewards program, offering 10 different giving levels starting at just $5 a month. We offer incredible value for any rewards level, from extra monthly interview videos not available publicly to subscription-based Planetary Healing Club videos once, twice, or 3 times a month, to private counseling sessions with Lost Arts Radio host Richard Sachs, to tech help with me, Doug Diamond. We even have one option where you can be the star on Lost Arts Radio as our guest on a specially produced show just for you. We conduct an interview with you and broadcast it to our growing network and listenership. Our Subscribestar levels are one of a kind and offer great rewards for any budget. Please help support Lost Arts Radio. We can't do it without you. With increasing censorship on many of our channels, we really need your support today to keep doing what we're doing. As Richard says, we're not even at survival level yet. Lost Arts Radio has 3 weekly shows. Lost Arts Radio Live each Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, which is a live stream currently on multiple platforms in case we get banned from some of the larger ones. Right now, we're on 2 YouTube channels, Facebook Live, Periscope, which is Twitter, Twitch, and DLive. You can access these broadcasts by going to www.lostartsradio.com/live for all the links to those channels. The Planetary Healing Club meets right after Lost Arts Radio Live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Saturday nights. And our Sunday show with guests airs at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Sunday nights on our Blog Talk Radio channel, our YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and on Brighteon. Be sure to sign up for our free email list just in case we do get banned on big tech's platforms. It's just a matter of time, really. They don't like the stuff we talk about, and they do not want the truth out there. In fact, they have already attacked us numerous times. Join our free email list so we can let you know where we are and how to access our shows. The sign-up button is right on the top right on most pages of our website. The best starting point for all things Lost Arts Radio is our main site, lostartsradio.com, where you can find the hottest news selection videos that we curate just for you. Those are on the homepage and added to daily, as well as articles and breaking news about information you really need to know. Our show archives, the 10 most recent shows, are right on our homepage, as well as our Blog Talk Radio page at blogtalkradio.com/lostartsradio, or just click the All Things Radio Show tab right on our website. We're in the podcast directory on iTunes, and all of our shows except the banned ones are on our YouTube channels at Lost Arts Radio and at Diamond Disc. Our Brighteon page is really taking off, and we often have editors' picks videos right on their homepage. Visit brighteon.com/channel/LostArtsRadio. On our site, you can also access our free listener forum as well as sign up for the Planetary Healing Club, which is just $25 a month, where you get private access to a one-on-one interaction with host Richard Sachs and myself and the other club members who participate live. More info can be found at planetaryhealingclub.com. We're providing solutions in there to make the world a better place. Come join us. Stay tuned, because up next, you'll get to hear a really great song by an independent artist that we're doing our best to support. Go to lostartsradio.com/music for the full list of all the great songs and bands that we spin on our audio-only podcast shows. If you're in a band and want to submit a song for consideration for airplay on Lost Arts Radio, visit my website at diamonddiscaudio.com for more information about the music placement, mastering, and mixing work that I do. Thanks again for listening to and supporting Lost Arts Radio. We love having you as part of our family to learn, experience, and grow with.
Leave your fear of the unknown and leave the planet you call home. Leave all the thoughts you think you know. It's time to let them go. Let it go. Extend your hands towards the stars and dip your toes in the valley of Mars. Celestial storm in my backyard and the universe explodes. Let's see how fast our hearts can go. 'Cause you and I could be that comet in the sky. If we hold our breath, take a leap and close our eyes, we could fly. I believe if we try, we could fly. Like the heroes in the sky, we could fly. Now the future's here. We'll watch our dark days disappear. I see the water running clear. Plans of fate are washed away. Washed away. Frozen stardust, crystal caves. sparkling towers, cityscapes. Is this a dream or are we awake, hand in hand through outer space? Time stands still for us today, 'cause you and I could be that comet in the sky. If we hold our breath, take a leap and close our eyes, we could fly. I believe if we try, we could fly. Like the heroes in the sky, we could fly. Stuck in a den of lions. If we don't learn how to leave the past behind us, 'cause you and I could be that comet in the sky. If we hold our breath, take a leap and close our eyes, we could fly. I believe if we try, we could fly. Like the heroes in the sky, we could fly. You and I could be that comet in the sky. If we hold our breath, take a leap and close our eyes, we could fly. I believe if we try, we could fly. Like the heroes in the sky, we could fly.